Well, it's a beautiful spring day. I thought I might get out here and actually work on the Comet a little. Well, the other day, I was actually able to come out for about 35 minutes, and I was able to do a little work on these floor pans that I've only been on for, I don't know, a year. And we're going to ignore the shoddy metal and the bad welds, bad fitment. It's solid. That's all I care about. But anyway, I was able to come out and do a little Pour 15 work on them. We cleaned everything up, vacuumed it out real good, and as you can see, put down a coat of Pour 15. And well, since the other day, we had some rain come through. Well, guess what? She got a little water on her, but it's all beaded up. Pour 15's got it protected, and that's not going to rust. But what it got me to thinking, you know, why these old cars, you know, really rusted out. Everybody thinks that these cars are supposed to be dry and whatnot. No. Here's the thing. Let me show you this. You see right here? You see this right here? These windows and these tracks across the top of the door and all that. Well, actually how that actually works is the water is supposed to come in and run through. That's just the way it was designed. The water was supposed to run through the car. It had drains on it, but they would fill with dirt, and then it would begin to hold water, and then the car would start rusting to pieces. And let's look over here and show you something else. I went in and I found this piece of trim, and so I could show you this, because I'm thinking this is partially where some of the water may be coming into the inside of the car. You see how this trim is on this car? Okay, well, you get a view of it, but there's a gap, okay? Well, they just had a couple of holes shoved in the side of the vehicle. The trim piece had a couple little brackets that just, you know, with some harsh steel pins, just, you know, spring blades pushed through there and held it on. They weren't sealed in any kind of way. And I can probably show you from inside the car. You can see those two holes right there, okay? And they go in through the panel, and that water is supposed to be designed to just run down inside this quarter panel on the skin, and it's supposed to run down the panel, and it comes out down here, and it just runs out of the car. It's designed for water to run through the car. And to a certain extent, even modern cars are designed with this method where water is just going to run through and come out the bottom of the car and drain. But they've done a lot better job of having holes to where the water can get out, protecting them from getting dirt and dust in places that it shouldn't get. They still do plug up, and they still do hold water occasionally, but the corrosion and rust prevention that they have on modern cars is way better than they had on like the 64 Mercury Comet. The 64 Mercury Comet started rusting the day it rolled out of the factory. It's just terrible. There's places that they didn't even put paint. It was just raw metal. You come across some of that occasionally on these cars. I have taken things apart and actually found fresh, shiny, raw metal on working on these old cars. It's rare, but you do find it occasionally. So let's get in here and we'll talk about what we're going to do today. All right, so I guess we're just going to go ahead and set up a time lapse and get inside this car and get all the stuff cleaned out inside the car so we can get to work. Start wire brushing and looking to apply some Pour 15. Well, got everything kind of cleaned up, but I really wanted to get into the Pour 15 today. But I have a spot right there, and it is the reinforcement for the seat belt mount. Let's make an adjustment. And you can see right there that the floor pan is pretty well rotted away from that piece right there. That rectangle right there is your seat belt mount and support to keep it from snatching through the floor. Well, I'm going to need to do something, because that is not going to hold any kind of seat belt. So I'm probably going to fab a piece to go over it and drill it, and I'll do a nut and bolt through the seat belt and into that plate. Hoping that I can, that's where you can see it, I'm hoping that I can line this up. Of course, I'm going to fab this piece a little better, but I'm going to drill some holes in this piece once I get it fabbed like I want, so that I can weld to this place in at least 4 places around here, and weld this patch panel in out here where there's not any rusty holes. Hopefully, once you start wire brushing and cleaning this pan up to install this metal, well, you start finding pinholes. We can do the best we can, hope for the best. I have another plan if this doesn't work out. Well, kind of what I was afraid of was going to happen, happened. I know the condition of the metal on this vehicle, so it was suspect that as soon as I started grinding on it, it was going to begin disappearing with rust. So it looks like we're going to go to plan B. And plan B is a much more involved process, and I'll reveal what I'm going to do with that later. So in the meantime, we're just going to stop short on the Pour 15 in this spot and go ahead and start taking care of these spots over here with the method I use with Pour 15 and the fiberglass. We just won't cover that spot. Well, I almost got ahead of myself. I just got in here, got to grinding and working, and forgot the video. So, I'm in the process of doing the fiberglass and Pour 15 technique that I use to fix small pinholes. Well, even more than pinholes. Swiss cheese on metal floorboards. So, let me see if I can get you set up here, and I'll go back to work. So there we go. Then it'll work. It'll work till it don't. How about that? Basically, you know, what I did, talk to you while I pour out some Pour 15 here. What I do is I take and I go ahead and I prep the surface, clean everything up, wire brush, vacuum it, get all the loose particles off, and then of course you also want to make sure there's no grease and oil in the area that you're going to work. And using the Pour 15 product, just have to keep in mind, you got to use gloves. You can keep it off your hands. If you don't get it to keep it off your hands and you let it dry, you're going to wear it for 2 weeks. But anyway, I wet the area down that I plan to apply the fiberglass to. And then I cut a piece of fiberglass to fit the area I'm trying to reinforce. Kind of push the fiberglass down into the Pour 15, get it kind of starting to attach. You can see where the Pour 15 is starting to kind of soak into the fiberglass, and then you just come in and you start dabbing it. It's going to take more pour 15 than just painting over metal, because the fiberglass is going to take up the pour 15. So you need to really load it up. But by pre-wetting it, it kind of goes ahead and starts bonding the fiberglass to the car. So you just continually dab and fill up the fiberglass like you would if it was resin. And as you can see, let me see if your camera's picking it. Yeah, right there, how the fiberglass will actually kind of lay into a contour, and it will dry, and that will be the contour. So we have our first piece of fiberglass laid in right here to fill up those holes. And now just leave it alone and let that dry. I have some more. Make sure I'm not touching myself anywhere. I have a lot more to do, as I just showed you over there, but I think I'm going to hold up because I have to fix the seat belt mount as we talked about, and I've got a plan for that. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. Alright, so there we go. Fiberglass is laid in place. It is laying over, covering up some of the holes. I've got a section over there that I was able to do. I've got to do some welding out there on the edge, so I didn't do pour 15 up there. I've got some fiberglass covering up some places back there. And all that is under the seat. Got one spot, I don't know what happened. Apparently it had some kind of grease or oil or something that I didn't know about, or I would have wiped it down and tried to degrease it a little better. But it's just one little spot right there in the middle. It is under the seat, and I'm not really that concerned about it. We'll look at it again after everything dries and cures up, and see how it looks and see what we can do about it. Alright, so I told you that I would come back and tell you what I was going to do about that seatbelt mount. This is future Brian. I wanted to go ahead and get the piece of metal that I was going to use to fix this problem with. So I'm going to show you. I got a piece of angle iron. And what I'm going to do, you can look and see that this piece of angle iron is just right covering up that piece. I had to buy a 4-foot section at Home Depot. Whew. Don't buy your iron there if you're trying to save money. It was expensive. But anyway, I'm going to cut off a strip off of here, about that big, okay? And it's going to be mounted right here. So the angle will go down and across, and that will be my anchor mounting point. It'll be anchored into solid rocker. The rockers on this car are 100% solid, front to back, particularly on this driver's side, even more so than the passenger side, but they are solid. They were galvanized back in the day, so they did not corrode and rust as bad. Now I'm going to go up underneath and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, you can see the seatbelt mount right there. If it'll focus, you can still see it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a notch in here. They'll take the body saw and I'm going to notch this out, and I'm going to flap that piece over so I can get access up inside here. I'm going to mount that piece of angle iron to the inner piece of the rocker. That way, when I notch this open, I can get up there to put fender washers and nuts on the back side of it so that it'll be tight. And then all I have to do is drill one hole in that piece of angle iron, and I have a anchor point for my seat belt. So, there you go. There's the basic idea. Hopefully I'll be able to get out here and do it soon. Well, it's just been another fine spring afternoon. Temperatures haven't been too terrible, in the low 80s. And just glad I got to get out here and get some work done on the old Comet. I know the way I'm repairing it is not the correct way to repair it, but I'm going with the David Freiberger philosophy. Don't get it right, just get it going. And that's what we're trying to do. I've been on this project way longer than I wanted to be. I kind of had hoped that it would be on the road and driving by now. But, you know, life happens and, you know, whatever. It is what it is. So we're going to keep working on this old Comet. And until we do, why don't you go out and watch another video coming on the screen right now.